Before I had my $1 million business, I had a big idea and I had a desire to really create a life that was my own. My earning potential was unlimited and I could provide security for my family, which is, I think, every woman entrepreneur I know. And a lot of us started from scratch, kind of Googling our way from one thing to the next, hoping we weren't missing anything. And we missed stuff because you do, because you don't know the right questions to ask. So that's what this workshop is about, is giving you a list of some of the steps to building your business. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your big idea. Obviously, to start your business, you need to have your big idea. So, and it could be a small idea that turns into a big idea, but it's something maybe that you already have in mind or something brand new that you've come up with. A lot of ways to come up with an idea. If you're struggling, you can look at new niches that are opening up, the new opportunities that are coming, look at trends, things that are changing in the marketplace. You can take your skills that you already have from your lifetime of work experience and your lifetime of life experience, take those skills and can you apply them to maybe a new field? Maybe you can use them in a new way. Look for markets that aren't being served well. If your idea was to do something that's like maybe open a restaurant or do a clothing line, something where it seems like there's a ton of competition, if you really look at that, there's areas that are not being served by the options that are there now. Maybe it's clothing line for certain ethnic groups or clothing line for certain body types. Maybe it's opening a restaurant in a certain area of town where there aren't a lot of those types of restaurants, right? So you want to look for markets that aren't being served well. That's a great place to come up with ideas. You can follow your passions, look at things you've been passionate about over your life. You can even look at things like Kickstarter, sites like Kickstarter for inspiration. Obviously, you're not going to copy the ideas that are there, but it's going to start your own ideas for flowing. So lots of ways to come up with your big idea. Then number two on the list, once you've got your idea, you want to check for competitors. Lots of room in any market, honestly, but you have to do your research first. A lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to look at the competitors because I'm going to do my own thing. I don't want to know what they're doing. The idea is not to copy what they're doing. It's to see what's out there so that you can set yourself apart and you can be different and you can offer things that aren't necessarily being offered. So research your competition, see what holes there are in the service that people are getting or products that they're not getting that they need. Find your advantages. Those are the things that you can do better than they can. So figure out what those things are by checking for your competition. Then you want to do your market research. So this step is going to save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars down the road. And so many of us skip this step because we think we know who our market is and what they want. This could be the thing that saves your business and ensures your success. So don't skip it. We always think we know what our market wants, or we guess, and you're setting yourself up to fail if you don't do your research on your competitors as well as on your market. You want to find out who they are, where they are, how they talk about the problem that you want to solve, and what they really want, what their pain points are. So do your market research. Then you want to test your idea. And again, this is another one. This is the secret to your success. And almost nobody does it when they start a business. And we dive deeper into this in our programs at She Corporated. But basically, this is the exercise that's going to help you guarantee that your business will be successful. And if we could all get guarantees, wouldn't that be amazing? Well, this is an almost guarantee if you do this exercise, and we just don't do it. So what you want to do is actually take your product, what you're planning to do for your product or service, and make the smallest version of that you can and put it out in front of your market to see if they like it. And if they don't like it, what they want to change about it, how can you improve it? So I'll give you a real quick example, and this works for any product or service. This particular method doesn't work, but this kind of testing does. So let's say you wanted to do a course, an online course. Before you put in all of the work into building the big website and putting together all the course and filming all the modules, start doing some webinars. And then you can see how the material lands. You can get it in front of your target market. And while you're doing that, you're also building your list for when the thing actually launches and you build the actual product, right? You can do that with all types of different products and services. It's called a minimum viable product. So you think of the smallest thing you can put to your market and get it in front of them and start that conversation and start getting that feedback from them. So very important to test your idea. After you've done that, you want to define your target audience. So this is how you know exactly who you're selling to. And you want to go micro specific with this one. So I want you to drill down until you're talking to one specific person who's your ideal customer. And you're going to use the research that you came up in that previous market research that we talked about to figure out exactly who you're marketing to, where they live, what they do every day, how they feel. You want to know them like a best friend, right? So get really specific with your target audience. And then after you know who your market is and what they want from you, that's really when you should be choosing your business name. You want something that's going to resonate, that's going to make sense to them. I would search for similar names online. And then that's a great starting point to see what else is out there that might be similar to that. And then you want to secure your chosen name with any official registries in your region. Get your website URL, your website domain registered, and your social media handles registered, etc. Once you've got your business name sorted. After that comes one of the parts I love, fun parts, is creating your brand identity. So this is where you design a logo that's going to appeal to your target market. You choose your brand colors that make sense for your business and your market. You want to also sit down and think through what the feel of your brand should be. That's part of your branding too. So if your brand was a person, what would they be like? Would they be sophisticated? Would they be silly, fun, casual? It's a great way to create a touchstone that you can come back to over and over again when you want to try and decide if a new, product or a service or a process is really in line with your branding. Then you got to find your secret sauce. This is my number one exercise to get a quick boost in my business and also create solid longer term strategies for growth. So we go into it again in depth in our Launchpad Business Accelerator course. It's a big one, but I'll give you the highlights here so that you can start this on your own as well. Basically, you want to sit down with a notebook, work through four things. You want to work through your business strengths. So these are the things that you do or can do better than anybody else in your market. Then you want to look at your weaknesses. So what do you not do so well, right? That others maybe have, or things that you lack that others have. Then my favorite, look for opportunities. So opportunities in your market that you can take advantage of, opportunities in your business that you haven't been maximizing, and then finally look at the threats. So things that you probably have very little control over, like changing market conditions or maybe new competitors coming into your area, but you still need to identify those and figure out how to lessen the impact of those threats. Okay, so it's a great strategy piece. And then you want to create your business plan. Yes, I said it. Look, I know it can be scary. We've we've all seen the templates for the 20-page business plans. And if that's your thing, it's a great idea to work through the finer details that way. But any business plan is better than no business plan. Even if it's one page, get it down on paper. I was recently introduced to the idea of having a living business plan on a whiteboard, which I think is genius. So rather than mapping out your plans on a business plan and then putting it in a drawer and forgetting about it, keep it simple, get it sketched out on a whiteboard, and then keep it up where you can see it. I have mine now on the wall right here. I see it every single day. It's got our goals on it, our targets, as well as our business plan. And as things change, I can change it right on the whiteboard. So if that's the thing that's going to get you to do a business plan, to keep it really simple and really unthreatening like that, then do it. But you need to have some kind of business plan to move forward. Then you want to choose your business structure. This one is going to vary wildly depending on where you live and what your situation is. So in most places, the three broad and basic choices are sole proprietorship, which is where your business and your personal finances are part of the same entity. A partnership where you're in business with someone else, or a corporation where your company is legally separate from you personally, and that helps somewhat protect your personal assets. There's lots of variations on those three, and there's a lot of reasons you might pick one over the other. So it's something that I suggest you first do a bit of research on for your country, for your region, and then speak to a lawyer or an accountant to get really solid advice for your specific business. After you've chosen your business structure, you want to get registered. And once you've done that, again, it varies by region and by business. But in most cases, you're going to need to register the name somehow. You're going to want to get a business license, a tax ID, all of those things. Again, another great time to talk to your accountant about what you need. And you can also touch base with your local chamber of commerce or like a small business association to get the links to register your business in your area. They usually have all of that information, or they can pass you on to the person that does. And then it's time to get set up online. And I don't care what kind of business you run, you need some kind of presence online. It's the first place people are going to go to check you out. They want to see your reviews. They want to find your location. They want to get to know just a little bit more about your business. Think about yourself when you're looking for something. When somebody tells you, hey, you should check out this whatever, it's really great. Do you go drive down there, or do you jump on your phone or your computer and check them out first, right? You check them out first online. So it's really important. Now, when I say that it's important to have a website or some kind of web presence, it doesn't have to be a 20-page complicated $10,000 website. It can be literally one page, but it needs to answer the questions that they're going to be looking for when they land on that page. It needs to look professional. It needs to have your branding on it. right? It needs to have a call to action, and it needs to have some way to gather their information if they want to connect with you, if they want to sign up to an email list, etc. Okay, so you want to get set up online, make sure that it's geared towards your market and it's easy to navigate. The next one is going to be creating your marketing plan. And another one, just like the business plan, this one can sound a bit scary, a bit daunting. It can also be incredibly in depth and complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Any marketing plan, again, is better than no marketing plan. And if you don't have something mapped out, you're going to end up being reactive. You're going to miss opportunities and you're going to spend far more time than you need to get less results than you could have had. So, at the very least, get yourself started, grab a calendar. Start with that. Map out your holiday promotions, your plans for slower periods, anything else you see coming up over the next 6 months. And if you go to our site, if you go to shecorporated.com, up in the top right-hand side, you'll see free downloads, and you can actually download a simple 10-step marketing plan right there. And it'll walk you through it. You can do it in a couple of hours, and it is actually quite comprehensive as far as everything that it's going to cover. It's going to cover all of the basics for you, and you know that you've got a plan moving forward. So you can do that at shecorporated.com, and then free downloads in the top right-hand corner. All right, time for the money. Where's the money, honey? Secure your funding. There's so many ways to do this. In the end, the majority of women founders tend to either bootstrap their business with their own money or borrow from family or friends. There's lots of other options though, and how good they're going to be for you is going to vary by situation. But before you use credit cards, please don't use credit cards. Before you use credit cards, make sure you explore all of your options, like a line of credit, investors, crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter, iFundWomen. Take advantage of what you can. All right, in the home stretch, you want to set up your systems. Do this now. Trust me, it is so much easier to set up your systems when you can from the start. This is when you kind of pause for a minute and you think through your specific business, the systems that you might need, and you get them in place. So how will your bookkeeper compile the information if you have a bookkeeper? How will you track your sales? How will you remit your sales taxes? How are you going to track your customers? How are you going to reply to your customers' emails? Are you going to have some kind of system for a customer relation management system? What do you need to keep the day-to-day operations of your specific business running smoothly? And how can you be the most efficient? So these are all, and honestly, so much easier when you just start to understand how things are going to run and the types of systems you need in place. If you can get them in place rather than a year from now or 2 years from now trying to backtrack and do it all then. So get your systems in place. The next one is get insured. Pretty much any kind of business is going to require some kind of insurance, and some businesses need a lot of it. So get with others in your industry and an insurance provider to talk through what's available and what's recommended. Now, you don't need to buy everything that the insurance provider wants to sell you, because I'm sure they have all sorts of things that they'd like to sell you that you may not necessarily need to have. But things like insurance for your space, that may be required by your landlord. Liability coverage might be a good idea. There might be specific requirements for your type of business in your area. So check with your local small business association for recommendations on that as well. All right, the last two, second to last, secure your location. Now, whether you have a physical location or you're operating virtually, this still applies. You need space to work. So a separate phone line, a good internet connection, room for your files, all of those things. So make sure you have what you need. If you have a brick and mortar location, then of course you need to secure the space. You need to do any renovations or improvements to get ready to open, hook up your utilities, order your signs, your furniture, and all that stuff. So secure your location. And the last one is to build your team. And again, you may be a one-man band. That's okay, but you will still have a team. You may have staff, or you may just have a bookkeeper, a virtual assistant, a mentor. This is all part of your team. So it's really important to get that mapped out and figure out what those roles look like and who you've got to lean on, because you're going to need somebody. Okay, one important note for you, do not have to do everything in this exact order. And depending on your specific business, there may be more or less steps than I went through today, but these are the core steps that every type of business generally needs to cover. All right, so the big question is always, what if I skip some of these steps? You can, and many of us do, because often we didn't know any better when we started out. But here's the thing, 90% of the time when I find somebody struggling later in their business, it comes back to something in these steps that wasn't done or wasn't done properly. So for example, if you find that you're struggling to get new customers or find new prospects 2, 3, or 6 years into your business, you probably didn't nail your target market. And you can keep throwing money at ads, you can keep trying new marketing tactics, but until you go back and you really get that piece right, you're never going to see the results. So much of what causes us to struggle in our business is from these foundational steps being neglected. So spend time on them now, getting them right, and that's just going to accelerate your success.